Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Center for Parents session. And today's session specifically is on the topic of school admission decisions and how you should think about the best school board for your child. I can see several participants who are already on the chat and looking forward to a great session. I do see a lot of good evenings on the chat, and instead of that, let me request you to put your name, put the location that you're joining from, and also it would be great if you could mention which board your child is currently studying in. So would love to hear the name, location, and board that your child is currently studying in. And while you start doing that, let me invite our panelists into the session. So we have a distinguished panel with us, and sincere gratitude to each of them for sparing time to do this. Miss Anju Wal is the Director of Education at Shivnadar Schools, and I'm requesting my colleague Karthik to add her to the stream. Hello, Miss Anju. Lovely to have you here.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. My pleasure to be here this evening with you.
Great. So Ms. Anju Wal is director at Shivnadar Schools, as I said, which is an initiative of Shivnadar Foundation. And she's a visionary leader with 30 years of experience in education, a passionate advocate for progressive learning. She's also the founding principal of Shivnadar School, Faridabad, and was instrumental in establishing the school as a beacon of academic excellence and holistic education. She was recently honored with the Pearson International School Leader of the Year Award, and Shivnadar Schools itself has received several national and international accolades at the TES Awards, the IDA Awards, the DIDAC Torchbearer Award, the Center International TPO Awards for having the maximum number of teacher winners, and so on. Separately, Miss Anju and I have a very special personal connect. We are both alumni of the same school in Delhi. That's Martade School. So it's great to share that connect as well. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great. So meanwhile, I'm seeing on chat we have someone who is from the whose child is from ICSE, someone whose child is from CBSE. We have people joining from Delhi, from Pune, from several locations. So one from Gurgaon, somebody in IB. So great to see the chat. Okay, let's welcome our next panelist into the show. We have with us Dr. Shivani Mehta, who's principal of GEMS Genesis International School from Ahmedabad, Gujarat.
Yes, hello, ma'am. How are you doing?
Wonderful to see you. Yes, Dr.
Good
Shivani.
honor to be here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So Dr. Shivani is also an educator with more than 2 decades of experience and a TEDx speaker. She's a passionate advocate for student-centered education, and her leadership philosophy emphasizes service and the creation of a culture rooted in trust and empathy. GEMS Genesis International School is part of the GEMS Education Network, and the school has been recognized with the Best Experiential Learning Implementation in School Jury's Choice Award at the Global Education Awards 2025. GGIS is also one of the schools that has created its own material on how CENTA standards could be implemented by teachers in the classroom. And it's actually material that we often learn from to say, oh, this is how CENTA standards plays out. So lovely to have you with us, Dr. Shivani. And with that, inviting our next panelist, Miss Anupama Ramachandra, who is the founder principal of Delhi Public School Electronic City in Bangalore. Miss Anupama Ramchandra is again a renowned educationist with over 30 years of experience and also a Fulbright scholar. She is an award-winning educator and speaker, focuses on nurturing talent and implementing modern teaching methodologies. She has received the Chanakya Award, the Karnataka Shikshana Ratna, and the Dynamic Principal 2024 award. Also, personally leads from the front in Center International TPO participation at her school. And welcome, Dr. Ms. Anupama Ramachandran today. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A very warm good evening to all of you from Bangalore. It's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much. And finally, we have with us Lieutenant Colonel Avinash Singh, veteran, a distinguished soldier academician, currently serving as the principal of Rajkumar College, Raipur, Chhattisgarh. And the college has a school as well as affiliated to ICSE, as well as 11th and 12th with the ISC board, and established in 1882. Rajkumar College is one of India's 5 historic chiefs colleges known for its residential ethos and strong emphasis on character building, leadership, discipline, and all-round development. The school has been consistently recognized in Education World's India School Rankings and India Tree Awards. Lieutenant Colonel Avinash Singh himself was commissioned into the renowned Skinner's Horse in 1985. He is a graduate of the Defense Services Staff College. And after retiring from the army in 2007, he transitioned into education, bringing almost 4 decades of leadership experience into this domain. Welcome and glad to have you on board, Colonel.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So, as you can see, we have with us a panel representing different parts of the country as well as different boards. So, talking about the boards, Miss Anjuval leads a school or a group that has affiliation with IB as well as IGCSE as well as CBSE. Dr. Shivani leads a school which has had CBSE affiliation for quite some time and transitioning into IGCSE now. Ms. Anupama Ramachandran leads a school group, a school part of a group which is very well known in the CBSE circle. And finally, Lieutenant Colonel Avinash leads a school affiliated to ICSE. So we have all the 4 boards which are being discussed a lot by parents represented today. And you can also see that each of these panelists has experience with multiple boards. And that's going to be the interesting part of the conversation. I can also see on chat a bunch of international participants from Kenya, China, and so on. But I just want to let you know that today's session in particular is fully focused on India. You are, of course, welcome to stay on the session, but it will be fully focused on India today. Centox in general is an international event, but for today, we are fully focused on India and just want to announce that up front so that you're clear. Okay, so with that, let me start with my opening question to all our panelists. And maybe starting with you, Ms. Anju, since you're representing 3 different boards. What do you see as the promise that each board brings to parents? If you were to summarize it in just 1 or 2 sentences, what is that promise?
Okay, thank you for your question, Ramya. I'm glad that you articulated parents. Otherwise, I would have asked you, promise to whom? Is it to parents? Is it to student community? Is it to teacher community? But that said, that if for parents, actually, I will continue to say this throughout this conversation, that parents should look at school visions, the best of boards. Boards are a set of framework and structure. Their expectations are very clear, but it's schools who transform boards and schools who transform learning. That said, CBSE board is, which we offer, and many other of my colleagues out here, it's structured with a clear set on core subjects. It's got a very defined outcome. It's got defined timelines, and parents looking for the national curriculum, its affordability, its stability, its transferability, and its alignment. Parents looking for IGCSE, which is the Cambridge A&O Levels Board, should look at how their child learns. Is the child open for more discursive and discussive way and more flexible ways, more representations of coursework, project work, as well as assessments which are in the conventional sense understood by us. And it's definitely got an international presence. Parents looking for International Baccalaureate must understand cognition and metacognition, because the board pushes, nudges, cajoles their children to think deeply. It's rigorous, it's got a vast scope, it's also got core elements which allow human flourishing, human development, and essentially the fulcrum will be on dealing with deep thinking and coming to terms with also not so very clear and defined outcomes. You could have a theory of knowledge, which you could discuss anything on earth and claim and put counterclaims. You have community activity and service, which is CAS, as everyone knows. And then you have a rigorous 4,000-word essay, which you need to produce in 2 years. So 3 boards, depending on what the parents are looking for. This is what they offer in a nutshell.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that was very well summarized. Let me ask Ms. Anupama, maybe next, picking up on the CBSE points that Ms. Anju made in particular. What would you add to that? What is the promise from CBSE to parents?
Thank you, Ramya, for that question. Although I have taught in various other boards, I have been with the CBSE board for the longest. And we all know that, excuse me, that CBSE is one of the most widely chosen boards in India. There is excuse me, I have a bad throat. And there is a reason why parents are choosing CBSE over other boards, is what I feel, because it's a pan-India board, and 2 groups of institutions, which are Kendriya Vidyalayas and Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya, which functions under the Ministry of Education, Government of India, also follows the CBSE, right? And for families that keep relocating very frequently, I think CBSE offers a very smooth continuity because it is similar syllabus, assessments, which which for sure, spells minimum disruption. And another reason, what I have noticed, which many people will agree, is that CBSE curriculum is very closely aligned with the competitive exams, that is NEET, JEE, CUET, and NDA, and other national exams. And also CBSE's backbone, which are NCERT books, they are explicitly referenced in many competitive exams. So parents feel that if they study the CBSE curriculum, there's no need for something like a parallel coaching syllabi, is what I feel. And the earlier panelist also mentioned this. I want to reiterate that CBSE is known for its clearly defined learning outcomes, and standardized assessment patterns. So there is, parents feel safer that there is less of probably experimental methods compared to some other boards. And also, it is believed that the CBSE academics is lesser of an academic rigor, is what they say. Well, I don't have any empirical data to prove that, but this is what is perceived, that it is more concept based than rote heavy learning. And they feel it is less content dense also as compared to other boards. Even state board or ICSE is what they say. And CBSE over the years is evolving. There is more emphasis on STEM and STEAM, and they have introduced AI and coding as skill subjects, which I feel is very relevant in today's landscape of education. And also, I think the fact that there is continuous reformation being introduced every year by CBSE, I think that is what makes it very a preferred choice for parents, because there is familiarity with them. And I also feel we cannot claim to be universally superior, but I think these are the value points because of which CBSE is one of the most preferred boards in India.
So let me use that segue to Dr. Shivani, because she's at a very interesting point where the school has been affiliated to CBSE for a while, is transitioning to IGCSE as a board. So again, Dr. Shivani, and again, this conversation is not so much, as all of you know, not so much about which is better, but what is the promise of each. So what does CBSE promise? What does IGCSE promise? And of course, as a school, you might have preferred now that you're moving. But what does each of them promise?
Okay. So, Ramya ma'am, good evening. I just want to begin by correcting just one aspect. We are already a Cambridge IGCSE school. We are transitioning into IB as well. So, we will be providing two boards moving forward, which will be weaning out of CBSE into Cambridge and IB as well. Right?
Okay.
So,
Sorry, I got that wrong in my introduction. Sorry about that.
That's absolutely.
Yeah. So in fact, then your comment can be even richer. So if you can mention what you see as the promise of each of these three, and maybe we can keep it very brief right now, adding on to what the first two panelists have already mentioned before we get into the more in-depth questions.
Okay, so like Anju ma'am rightly said, we look at boards as the framework. In any school system, the board is the framework for the school to carry out its entire strategy of teaching and learning in the classroom. There was a lot of attraction towards, the Cambridge in certain parts of Gujarat because of the need for clear and very fluent language skills. So there is a belief system that a lot of, say, the parents, when they approach us, they look at certain boards providing probably more fluency in their English, in their reading and writing, a little more of sort of international exposure in the kind of material that they are using to teach and learn in the classrooms. That's one aspect that really attracts a lot of parents and students towards learning with international relevance. And the other aspect that sort of got us thinking is the student-centered approach. So a bigger and a louder student voice and choice. While the framework exists, the transdisciplinary themes in the IB really just provide us a lot of time to create our own syllabus. So that's something that seems very attractive and lucrative to me as a school leader, and definitely the team as well. From just learning from local elements all the way up to taking it out there outside out of the classroom and learning from their day-to-day happenings around the world. So looking at this as a step-by-step process and actually pulling out learning from the textbooks and absorbing it completely. So I think this aspect of being able to practice what you are learning, that seems very enticing to us as a school. And a fewer boundaries, more time and more flexibility definitely helps us become more creative, trying new things with our students and teachers.
Got it. Got it. No, that's very, very well summarized. Let me come to ICSE with Lieutenant Colonel Avinash Singh, and ICSE as well as ISE, the 10th and 12th standard that go hand in hand. So how would you summarize this, Avinash ji, in terms of the promise from ICSE to its parents?
Ma'am, I'd like to start with the same analogy as other speakers, some of them, when they said that a board is a framework within which studies are structured. All right. Now, I also happen to be on the board of CISC, the ICSC board also. So, while attending those board meetings, one realizes that there are representatives from all other boards which are functioning in India. I mean, I'm not talking about IB and all, but CBSE and all officials do attend those meetings. Now, the syllabus of ICSC and CBSE are by and large have by and large been aligned now, except for the English language part of it, where ICSC has got more details and grammar and literature and all those things. So I'll say that only the English language is a distinct difference between ICSC and other boards like CBSE and the state boards. I won't comment on IB and IGCSE because they are structured in a very different manner from these boards. Second is, what are we looking at? I mean, I'm now addressing like what the parents are looking at. So you're looking at a student, firstly, to build some kind of an intelligence. So what is intelligence? Intelligence is knowledge backed by information is intelligence. All right. So that means provision of information and a little bit of push towards knowledge will get you the intelligence part. Second is the skill part, which the child has to develop. Skill is nothing but practicing again and again and again. And third is the attitude part. Attitude, aptitude, whatever you can call it, unless and until the child practices like a project in what it is termed as, a child will never be able to generally get the hang of it. The knowledge will remain theoretical. The school job is to basically transfer the contents prescribed by the board in these three substructures so that the child is a well-rounded individual. ICSC is also much more flexible, being a relatively smaller board. So this choosing of streams, choosing of arts, humanities, and say commerce subjects simultaneously in your salad of selection of subjects, that had been permitted long back in ICSC. It's now coming through NEP. All right. So I'll say that there is hardly any major difference between ICSC and CBSE when it comes to uh, a student's knowledge or his preparatory, his preparations towards competitive exams and all. Language, definitely an ICSE student will have an edge because English is taught in much detailed terms. So that is how I feel about this. Thank you.
Great, great. And I think almost, all of you have mentioned this whole point about ultimately a board being what a school translates it into. And I want to come back to that theme towards the end of this session. But we'll stay with the boards for today mostly since that was the topic. Meanwhile, of course, also just seeing a lot more good evenings on the chat, and will once again request people in the audience that instead of good evening, love to know your location, would love to know which board your child is currently studying in, if you don't mind mentioning. And once again, a quick reminder that today's session is focused on India. Okay. With that, and international participants welcome to stay, but we'll focus on India. So with that, my next round of questions, and this is going to be a rapid one, which is, if you had to mention the top misconception that you think people have about a particular board, what is that number one misconception that you feel parents have? And maybe Ms. Anupama, starting with you on CBSE, what do you think parents feel about CBSE that is a misconception?
I think the first misconception that parents have is that if they want to crack the competitive exams, they need to move away from CBSE because it is tougher than state
Oh,
board, is a misconception.
oh, compared to state board, that's an interesting one.
Yes,
That's an interesting one.
yes,
So what you're saying is that parents think that they need to move to state board because it's easier
yes,
if they
yes,
want to crack competitive exams.
yes,
And I guess the people in international boards would see the same misconception with respect to international boards and CBSE.
yes.
But come back to that. That's a very interesting one. What about IGCSE, Dr. Shivani? What do you see as a misconception? IGCSE and maybe IB also, if you can cover.
Absolutely. So there is a lot of misconception around the capabilities of a student, saying that, if the student is sincere, the child will be able to pull through in the national boards. But children who study with international boards are probably more playful, insincere. There is not enough testing or rigor or homework in international boards. Visibly and visually in the notebook, there are lesser writing materials and tools which are provided. So there's, yes, a lot of misrepresentation of how teaching and learning happens outside of the classroom also, and in their notebooks. Visually, they feel the student is not really learning and not sitting down in a corner and completing his notes and things like that. So yeah.
Great. And what would you add on either CBSE or the international boards, Miss Anju? And I'm starting to see some audience questions coming in, which we will take up shortly. But yeah.
Okay, with regard to CBSE, I think one myth is that it does not allow room for creativity. It's a myth. I totally want to debunk it. Because if you use the backbone, which my colleague just mentioned about as the NCERT book, please let's use that as a launch and not a crutch. Nowhere does the national curriculum mention that you cannot look at resources. Nowhere does it dictate that there is no room for creative, innovative pedagogy. At the end of the day, the concepts to be taught in the class are 10 or 12 in that annual academic session. Teach them the way you want to, and the board doesn't say nothing. So I think CBS national curriculum allows room for creativity, but the myth is that it doesn't. With regard to international boards, that if you want to do International Baccalaureate, IB, you must be looking at admissions abroad. That's a myth. 51% of students who do IB study within the country. That's data. That's fact.
Is that right? I was not
That
aware
is
of that
absolutely
data.
right. That is data. That is fact. That 51% of them, because there is, with All India universities, there is an MOU with IB that your mark sheet is totally eligible for Indian universities. So the myth is that it is elitist and that you can only and only go abroad. And if you're only thinking that my child must go abroad for higher ed, I should look at IB. In fact, very interestingly, the world has more CBSE students from India than from IB students in outside universities by sheer volume. by
Of
sheer
course,
volume.
that by
By
sheer
sheer volume.
volume, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Also that they are totally accepted with their scholastic
yeah.
and LORs
But the
and SOP. For
51% is
IG,
a, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Sorry,
that is
that's an
data.
interesting
And for
data point. Yeah,
IGCSE, I also quite will take the thread forward with my colleague just said. Yeah, IGCSE, it appears to, because of its flexibility, because of representations through project work and not through conventional straitjacketed notebook work, it appears to be more facile. It just appears to be more easy, but it's more in-depth and it requires a lot more thinking and more engagement by the learner. So the myth is that it is facile because of the flexibility and the number of subjects on the buffet of offering that there are. Yeah, I
interesting,
summarize all
interesting.
three.
And I'm going to come back to both of you, Miss Anju and Dr. Shivani, on the IGCSE versus IB differences.
Mhm.
But before I come back to that, Colonel Avinash, what is the biggest myth people have about ICSE?
I think the biggest myth people have with regarding the ICSC is one, that it is a tougher board than perhaps the state boards and the CBSE, especially in the ISC, that is 11th and 12th classes. The second myth is that they feel that if you want to crack the Indian competitive exams, CBSE would have perhaps a better pattern of studies for the entrance exams as such. I'm talking about. So these are the myths. Every year after 10th results, I have about 20 to 25% turnover, in which 20 odd percent students leave for say CBSE and 20% come in from other boards to the school. So I personally would say that parents should be more bothered about the quality of school and teaching learning than boards per se. And definitely, like ma'am Wal said, that I think 50, or someone mentioned that 51% of students of IB are also within the country. But definitely, if a person wants to pursue studies abroad, an international board is more structured to take that on. But there is no stopping from ICSE students also from joining. Every year, I have about 10 odd students who go abroad to King's College and various other universities. So they are not handicapped by the fact that they are not studying in an international board. So I think instead of being board oriented, the parent should be more looking at school oriented and curriculum oriented in that sense. Boards are generally giving a broad framework to schools, and all a good school will manage within that framework to convey the content.
Got
Thank
it.
you.
Got it. No, thank you for that. Thank you for that explanation. And let me just go one level deeper on IB versus IGCSE, which has come up as a question even in some of the conversations in the run up to this. And both Miss Anju and Dr. Shivani, you have experience with both of those. How do you characterize the differences?
So who would you like to go
Either of
first?
either of you. Yeah, yeah. You can
Okay.
go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can just flow with it. Now, if you compare IGCSE with IB, you are comparing 9 and 10 with IBDP, which is 11 and 12. But if you also compare IB MYP, middle
MYP.
years,
Yeah.
MYP 6 to 10 is what
Yes.
the MYP is, as
Yes.
we all know. And IGCSE is quite particularly 9 and 10. In MYP, you up to grade 8, which is MYP 1, 2, 3, you explore 8 subjects. Then you come to 9 and 10, which is MYP 4 and 5. You distill it down to a few subjects, which is about 6 subjects. Even in DP, then it becomes 6 subjects. So as far as facts and figures go, in IGCSE, you can take up to 7 subjects, go up to 9, get your ICE certificate. And when you compare both of them, usually schools offer IGCSE as a stepping stone, as my colleague just said, into DP, the rigor of DP, which is diploma program 11 and 12. And it works very well because there is a fair amount of rigorous teaching learning, scrubbing, which IGCSE does, particularly in year 2, which is grade 10, which makes the learner ready to be able to take it on in the diploma program. If I look at it, how teaching learning happens in both, I will discern one key aspect. IGCSE still remains, in comparison to IB, more content heavy. More content heavy. And DP, diploma program, including MYP, is more research based. It is more based on projects. It is more based on transdisciplinary, which is real world problems. If I say, how do I conserve water in my school? If I say, this is my real world, this is my problem statement, then that's a transdisciplinary way and approach of looking at how I would need to learn sciences and geography and history and say, how do I come to a resolution out here? This is possible in an MYP and a DP program. In IGCSE, you would be more interdisciplinary. Two subject, two teachers align and see how they can weave in, and they still are focused on content.
Got it. Got it.
So I
So,
wanted to
yeah.
discern these couple of
Yeah,
differences.
no, nicely explained. Nicely explained. As I can see, someone from the audience also saying, nicely explained. So, Dr. Shivani, what would you add to that, if anything?
Yeah, I would love to say that the classroom experience for the IGCSE or the Cambridge student is more, in simpler words, an explanation that leads to practice. Then there is feedback that is given by the teacher, and that's how you are exam ready, right? There is a fixed syllabus, there are textbooks, and that is how students prepare. For the IB pedagogy, so what happens is that you question, there is a problem statement, there is a question, then you explore, there is more of reflection and application that happens. So you kind of like build from that, and then you evaluate whatever has come through. At the end of the assessment style in the IB, it's a mix of external exams as well as internal assessments. So there are projects, portfolios, orals, all of that happen. Whereas for the Cambridge exams, they're predominantly external exams with fixed marking schemes that you have to adhere to, right? Another thing that I would also want to talk about is, say, the workload pattern. For a Cambridge student, it is exam heavy. So there are times when you're expected to sort of just those 2 months, spend a lot of time with your mock papers, practice papers, like any other board. And there is focus on, say, accuracy, clarity, speed, and exam technique. But for the IB student, you are busy throughout the year, especially if you're pursuing the IB diploma program. So it is not fragmented, but it has to be like, it's a continuous workload across the year, and because of the depth that it carries and the personal reflection that you need to add to all your portfolios and projects and things like that. Yeah.
Great, great. No, thank you for that. For that comparison, very helpful. Let me ask a different question about CBSE and ICSE, Ms. Anupama and Colonel Avinash. While I do understand that you are representing schools and groups that are very progressive, that have built in a lot of creative thinking and innovation within the CBSE, ICSE frameworks. One of the things that we keep hearing from a more sort of average school is that the framework is somewhat constraining with respect to building creative thinking, critical thinking, problem solving, etc. And we, of course, hear that there are changes. I mean, not just here. I would say as CENTA, we are part of many of those changes with the Indian boards. So how do you see the changes playing out at the framework level if you take the next sort of 1 year, 3 years, 5 years for parents with that horizon? How do you see the changes playing out? Maybe Colonel Avinash first.
Uh, I don't think in ICSC there are very many changes happening. I will not agree with that statement. ICSC is a very stable board. One or I mean, you have to change, otherwise you will become like a dinosaur. So you keep evolving, but there aren't very many changes in the this thing. Second is that, like I said, that both more so CBSE and to some lesser extent ICSE and then the state boards, they generally cater for a larger group of students than IB and IGCSE. So you will find that the schools quality is also the sort of the matrix of the school quality is also varying, because the number of schools, the economic strata in which they are functioning is very, very different. So how a curriculum then is imparted by the school per se, the same curriculum is imparted by the school per se in a smaller, at a smaller place, with limited, say, human resources, to a bigger place where one is more, one has access to better teachers, is a very big factor. But both ICSC and CBSE, I'll stick my neck out and say that they are still there. I mean, I don't find any. When you say, like, my son joined law, and he went to Jindal, and he went for a scholarship or something, and there he had to kind of meet with all these other people from other boards. So I asked him specifically, I said, have you ever felt that you are a little shortchanged because you come from ICSE something? He said, no, it was never the case. So I don't think parents should feel at ease in whatever board they have chosen for their child, as long as the educational institution is good. That is my advice to the parents. Thank you.
Sure, sure. And what you're also saying is that there hasn't been too much change in
No,
ICSE
no,
and you're
no,
not
no, no,
really
no, no, no,
anticipating
no, no, no.
that. Okay. And Ms. Anupama, how do you characterize that
Yeah.
for CBSE?
Yeah, on the contrary to what Colonel Sir said, I think I would like to mention that there have been so many changes in CBSE, and the way I perceive it is, am I audible? Yes, yeah. So the way I perceive it, that like he rightly said, change is a constant even for education. We have to evolve and change with the times, and that is how we can be progressive to suit the needs of the students who are going global every year. So I really would, I mean, I really feel that changes like getting the children to know the local culture, with programs like where one state is connected with the other. There are so many new programs that have been brought in, not only with the programs for students, but also, teachers training is concerned also. CBSE has made it mandatory now that every teacher and the principal should go through 50 hours of professional development every academic year. So this only reiterates the fact that we need to scale up, especially with teacher training, because there are many schools that are not performing irrespective of which board we have taken up, only because teachers are not equipped with the right skills and the right attitudes. So I think it is very necessary to work on this area also. And I welcome CBSE's directions where they are saying that everyone should go through 50 hours. I mean, it's a kind of a framework they are putting for us. And I really think that both they differ in philosophy, they have different goals. But I think the outcome mainly is dependent on the quality of the school, the teacher expertise, the kind of support you're getting from parents, how we have built the entire network of all the stakeholders. So I feel that CBSE is characterized by constant changes, especially after NEP and NCF. And I think most of them are welcome, given to the fact that we are evolving fast into a digital world. So I sincerely feel that changes are welcome, and they should happen.
And Ms. Anupama, just to push you just on one thing, which is, of course, while programs, etc., when boards bring those in, that's one thing. But the biggest nudge in some ways becomes with respect to how the exam is designed. And for example, one of the things that CBSE has announced is exams are going to become competency based. And in fact, we had a session for parents on how to prepare for CBSE's new kind of exams. That was some time back. But uh, while those announcements have come in, what do you see as the time frame for dramatic change in exams in terms of becoming competency based, etc.? Do you see that as 1 year out, 3 years out, 5 years out?
Well, yeah, Ramya, I don't think we have to think that far, because the wheels have already started rolling. CBSE has already announced 2 board exams from this year for grade 10,
Yeah.
which I think is a revolution. It has,
Yeah.
never happened before except during COVID. So I think the change has already set in, and competency based is already being implemented in CBSE exams. Whoever is here from the CBSE background will tell you that it's no more, just learning something by heart and coming and reproducing it there. We have the assertion and reasoning questions, and there are marked higher order thinking skill questions which children know. Application questions are there, value based questions are there. It's already there in the question paper. So I think the change has already started. The question is, how fast are we going to progress that we come to reach the global standards? But I think we have already started changing.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I'd like to
yeah, sorry.
I'd like to add one thing here, that at the moment when we are talking about changes, when I was speaking, or what I understood was change in respect to what the students are going to encounter. As far
Okay.
as this faculty development training and all that is concerned of 50 hours, that's a mandatory requirement as per NEP. So in any case, all boards which are operating here, ICSE and CBSE, will have to factor in that training. So that's there. I mean, I won't call it a change, because faculty trainings are already there. Now it's mandated that it will be of 50 hours. So that is one. And second is that course correction in a board pattern of examination is always happening. It's course corrections are continuous, in the sense every year you'll find something or other, some subjects being added, like AI and robotics has been added. So those things are a continuous process. Like you mentioned some time back, radical change is what we are talking about. Radical change, I'll qualify it as 2 exams for say class 10, two board exam. That is a radical change, I agree. But otherwise, minor changes in the exam pattern, competence based questions, itne percent, so many percent of questions used to be earlier, and now they'll be increased. So those changes continue to happen year after year, and they cannot be perceived as major overhauls, so to say. Thank you.
Sure, sure. So of course, we have a slightly different view, or between both of you, and that's great. That's great, and good to hear that richness. Let me go to a couple of audience questions, and one is Sachia Agarwal. One of their comments is that they are confused between IGCSE and IB, but I'm not going to take up that question because I think it was addressed a few minutes back. So in case you missed it, you can replay the video link later to understand the differences that Ms. Anju and Dr. Shivani talked about. But let me take Sachia Agarwal's other question, which is, does IB have a much higher dependency on teachers, even compared to IGCSE? And Ms. Anju, you particularly mentioned that IGCSE still is more content heavy, etc. So does the dependency become even more in IB compared to IGCSE?
On the contrary, no. In IGCSE, because if I compare it with IB, only in relation to IB, that's the only equation we are talking about here, that there is more content, therefore you need a teacher to unpack, to unfold, and a student to be able to engage and absorb and to understand what are the concepts which are implicit in the content that is being detailed in IGCSE. Plus, there are also levels in IGCSE, meaning you can take a certain level of mathematics, you can take a higher level of mathematics, you can take discrete sciences, which means that you can take a physics separately in 9 and 10, you can take a chemistry separately, you can take a biology, or you can take something called a combined or a coordinated sciences. And similarly, you can also make that choice in what is commonly understood as social sciences. I'm not going too much into the terminology of it, just for common understanding. Now, in IB, for you to be able to study in the Indian University, you must do 3 higher level, HL, which is known as, and 3 standard level. You must have 3 subjects at a higher level and 3 subjects at a standard level that you must study. That's what your equivalence will be, recognized by Association of Indian Universities, to be able to study here. But anyway, all students do that wherever they want to go. So this has become a pattern of study. Only some who are deeply passionate and interested may take 4. Which becomes very hard because there's that whole core. Now, teacher dependency in IB is because teachers are more like facilitators. I know it's a word which we often use, but because IB is so researched, you have an abstract, you have your question, you have your essay, and it runs through a feedback loop. Over a period of 2 years, if I submit my first draft, my second draft, and there are deadlines to which I will need to submit to you, and there's a deadline incumbent on you as a teacher, as a facilitator, to give me the feedback, close that feedback loop, and by the end of 18 months, almost closing into 2 years, say my 4,000 word essay on a particular subject and a particular theme is then ready. So the teacher's relationship with the student becomes more of that facilitating his progress over the next 2 years.
And Ms. Anju, just a quick follow-up to that from Harsha Bhatt and a couple of others, which is, does this research-heavy method also mean that children's screen time increases in IB?
Most of the resources are digital. Most of those resources are digital. Some are paid resources, some are open access resources. 100% of IB schools will have a learning management system. They will have a LMS on which they put all their resources, their assessments, their provocations, their theory of knowledge abstracts. So that becomes your go-to place.
So, so how many hours of screen time are we talking about in a day, for example?
So you
Both
carry
at
it to
school and
to
outside
school.
together.
Yeah, you carry
Yeah.
it to school. You need it in school because you are using different website, different applications to conduct your deep researches, to explore and to interrogate and to investigate. You have a lot of collaboration in class, which you will rarely see in the national curriculum. National curriculum is more individualized. Me and my text. International curriculum collaboration, without collaboration, several projects will fall through the cracks, right? It's in the design of learning. But a sensible school design will limit it, will regulate it very much in school time, and also have, let me say, moderate and reasonable deadlines for submission, so students don't have to spend the whole, burn the midnight oil to be able to submit what they need to in assignments in the shortest time possible. So you have reasonable deadlines of internal assessment submission. The IAs are over a stretch of time. So it's not as if your whole evening needs to be that.
Sure, sure. So yes, I guess so. Harsha Bhatt and others, you might
Regulation
have
is
got
key. Yeah,
yeah,
regulation
you
is
might have
key.
got a reasonable directional kind of thing. So, Dr. Shivani, maybe I'm actually, in the interest of time, I'm going to switch to a different audience question for you, and this and there are actually a couple of questions on both the relationship between a board and the child, or the characteristics of the child, from Millie Mehta, and another question on switching across boards if parents anticipate a change later on, and this is actually from a parent of an 18-month-old who is already thinking about this. That's great. But before I ask you those questions, and I'll request you to think about them, we are just going to have a 1 minute break where my colleague Karthik Menon is going to announce a new initiative from Centa by taking a minute. Karthik, if you can come on screen, make your announcement, and then Dr. Shivani will continue.
Sure, Amma. Thanks a lot for that. Wonderful to be here, and good evening, everyone. As you all know, Centa is the world's largest professional platform for teachers, serving over 2 million teachers from every part of India and several other countries. We certify teachers, we support their upskilling, we work for their career growth. Since we provide certified teachers to a lot of schools, some parents have also started asking us, why don't you provide certified tuition teachers to us? And one challenge that we hear most often from parents is that it's hard for parents who are looking for tutors to judge the teaching quality upfront and find the right tutor quickly. So this is exactly where Centa's one-on-one online tuition offering comes in, and these are the challenges that we seek to address. So first, as a registered certification trademark, we certify tutors on their competencies, on subject, pedagogy, and so on. So parents and students get access to tuition teachers with clear quality benchmarks. Second, the identification and onboarding process is fast and fully tech-enabled. Parents can share the requirements, they can get matched to a tutor from our 2 million teacher pool. The child can attend a free demo session before any commitment is made. And all of this happens in a 7-day window. So there's complete clarity on fit before moving ahead. And you can get an online tuition teacher just for like 4 doubt clearing sessions or for the entire year. So it's fully flexible. If you are a parent who's looking for additional support for your child, especially during say transition years, examination phases, or when you feel that your child needs some focused help on specific subjects, do check out the details on the Center for Parents website. We'll also put the link in chat. You can post your requirement for free and we'll get back to you at the earliest. Over to you, Ramya.
Yeah, thanks, Karthik. Let's bring the panelists back, and for the last few minutes, and if I can also request our panelists for staying on till about 6:10, so that we try and complete the pending questions. That would be really lovely if you can spare 10 minutes extra. Great, thank you so much. Let me come to Dr. Shivani and ask you Millie Mehta's question, which is board selection also related to the characteristics of the child? And I'm rephrasing a little bit. So, for example, if a child is creative and expressive, then are they more likely to be drawn to an international board, or should parents think in that manner? And should parents be asking themselves about fit between a board and their child if they have multiple options to choose from?
Yeah, I'd like to go back to 2 points that have already been discussed, but to say that, what does the school stand for? At the end of the day, what the school stands for matters way more than the board selection alone. So, if the belief system, the way the children are teaching and learning, is it a safe space for my child? Can my child speak up? Irrespective of the board, are they allowed to ask questions? Does the teacher take the effort to provide an extra word of encouragement in the classroom, right? All these little steps sort of create the space besides the board. That's one thing. So that's something that a parent should definitely consider. Another thing is that some, again, like we shared, the curriculum for some of the boards, it makes it easier for children to sort of explore a little more. A small example would be that currently our grades 3, 4, 5, instead of the regular exams, which are pen and paper, we did capstone projects. So every child, picked up a passion project of their choice, and then they sort of researched on it, and then they presented it. We had children in grade 5 talk about everything from piezoelectric tiles to history of Mesopotamia to geopolitical situations to something as simple as gardening, right? So the huge variety and exposure of topics, and also the investment in the learning experience for the child was immense. Then that whole screen time at the end of the day truly doesn't matter, because if they are going to spend 2 hours on screen, they would rather spend that on research and learning over gaming and watching the YouTube shorts, right? So I'm just trying to sort of tell parents here that we don't really need to always villainify screen time, because there are so many productive things that could also be happening online. It's just that the child has to feel like there's a calling there and they want to make the most of it. Another question you had asked me is the switching of boards, and this is a question I often get from parents. The higher the grades are, the stakes are a lot more. So if you're looking at like early years to grade 5, the switching is usually easy and low risk. Curriculum gaps are minimal and the focus is on skills, not content. Grade 6 to 8, if you're switching a board between, say, international to national or national to international, it is possible, but the child needs bridging support. And the child must adapt to different ways of writing their answers and assessment styles. Grades 9, 10 is a high risk zone because there is syllabus involved, exam structures, and depth may vary sharply, especially in terms of concepts. And grades 11 and 12, if you have like a clear university pathway, you understand what the requirements are, I would recommend that. If you are looking to push yourself out of your comfort zone and explore something totally new, like from a national board to say IBDP, right? Or say from IGCSE, creating the foundation for your IBDP diploma program, then yes, sometimes relocation of countries, spaces and states, these also create sort of some decisions that parents take. But yeah, the older the child becomes, the more the boards sort of matter when you're making these shifts. So I tried to answer both those questions.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And I can see a lot of responses in the audience sort of nodding online. But I think, you've covered both ends of the spectrum. And because I can see a couple of parents with an 18-month-old child, a 2-year-old child, etc. And I guess your advice to them is very clear: not to worry about the board. All directions of switches can largely be done for the next several years.
Yeah.
And there is time, and we'll come back to the last question on the school itself. But the parents who are at the other end of the spectrum, and there is someone thinking about grade 10 and whether it makes sense to be looking at IGCSE and then switching to IB. I think we already heard from Ms. Anju also that that's a very common path. And at the same time, from Dr. Shivani, that probably between national and international boards, the stakes start becoming higher when we look at that end of the spectrum. I think Miss Anupama had to drop off, and I missed thanking her before she left. But thank you very much, Miss Anupama, for your time with us. Let me come back to the last question of the evening, which is regarding school selection. And all the panelists here, Lieutenant Colonel Avinash, Dr. Shivani, Ms. Sanju, Ms. Anupama, all of you have emphasized that ultimately what matters is less the board, more the school, and how the school is translating this vision into reality. So maybe starting with Lieutenant Colonel Avinash, if you had to advise parents on what to look for in a school, even though that's not the main topic of today, it has come up multiple times in the chat. So what to look for in a school? What would be your, let's say, top 3 aspects? Sorry, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry. So I will put it, long back, I was doing this Defense Services Staff College course, which you mentioned in Wellington, Ooty. It's a 1-year course, and it's for the higher levels of management in all the 3 defense forces, also civil services. So there is a age-old textbook, we call it Pressy in the services, called Principles of War. Okay, so that is a hand down from the British era to us. But those 10 principles haven't changed even after, say, 70, 80 years. And the preface of that Pressy says, a plan should be simple. Okay. So I'll tell the parents to make their plan simple in choosing schools. Don't get into splitting of the hair. Just find out word of mouth is the best reputation. No amount of advertisements or stalls or say exhibitions will lead you to a good school. You have to get the reputation of the school, word of mouth of people who are already studying over there, and then take a decision, ma'am. I don't think, like you mentioned, syllabus and all is not going to make much of a difference. If the school is good, the child will be taken care of. A good school, second, is in which a child is happy to go. A child should not be shirking from going to school. So that is a very basic definition of a good school, that a child in the morning, if he's not shirking to go to school, then the school is good. Okay. And third is that the atmosphere should be very non-draconian and pleasant. We don't want military academies. These days, a lot of these so-called Sanic schools are also springing up all over the country, where there is very large emphasis on drill and all those things. Children are children. They are soft people. We should treat them softly. In spite of the fact that I spent 22 years in the service in uniform, still I feel that way, ma'am. So the parent should be very, very pragmatic, and in a very simple manner find out as to what school suits them. A couple of practical things are also there. The school should be very much at a location which is nearer to their home, because a 2-hour travel from the home will literally burn out your child by the time a child comes back home. And I personally, I didn't speak out because I did not want to sound negative, but I am against too much of screen time, ma'am. That is my personal opinion. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Sure, sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. These are all very, very important factors, and good for parents to get these multiple perspectives. So maybe Dr. Shivani, next, your top 3 factors.
I'm going to I'm going to begin by saying that you have to look at the alumni of the school. I think that's great asset and data to look at. And more than the marks, just the kind of students that have come out of the school. What are their qualities, their characteristics, talking to them, trying to understand things that really matter about the school. Sometimes just talking to several students of the school that you are considering will give you some really deep insight into what the school stands for. It's just like out of the horse's mouth itself, right? So that's one thing. Another thing that I would also say, and this is a more of a practical decision, which would be like the fees. So when you're considering a school, you want it to be a sustainable decision, right? And schools come at all different price points. So you sort of stretching yourself as a parent and then not being able to sustain the fees. It shouldn't feel like, again, a short change decision. So just sort of deciding what your fee bracket could look like, and then sudden, and that will also help you sort of make a more reasonable decision. Again, this is a very practical advice in terms of when it comes to parents especially wanting to decide. And third and most importantly, would be, say, the courage that you see, the way the school deals with failures. So a lot of the times you walk into systems that call themselves, the torch bearers of excellence, and then you walk into schools where humility, where there is approachability, and you are heard a little more. So I think if you find an ecosystem that recognizes you, sees you irrespective of the number of people that they have, I think that's a very big green flag. That if I'm a parent, I'm a student, I have some issue, and there is someone in the school to simply address and listen and find an answer to my question. I think these are the three things that really, really matter, because children are more than just roll numbers, and a school is not just information, it's a transformation. So, it requires that connect for any transformation to happen. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Miss Anju, your top three.
Yeah, I think this is the favorite part of everyone out here, because we've been weaving it in throughout the conversation.
Yeah.
And really, parents choose a board, but children experience the school. And that's significant for all of us. One top thing, apart from what my colleagues have said, so I will not repeat because I agree with most of what they've said. But to add, I would say that one top thing parents should look for is if a school has a robust and a strong parent partnership model. That there's an openness and transparency. You're not just wondering sitting at home that what is happening in the school, that nobody replies, nobody responds, nobody acknowledges. And what you said about approachability, that is also for parents. A student is free to approach, a student is seen and happy and heard. There's student agency, there's a certain fearlessness in the school to be able to be comfortable in my own skin as a young learner. I want to be comfortable in my own skin. The school accepts me for who I am, to become a better version of myself and not to be in competition with my peer or classmate. But even for parents, they need to be heard. And it's fair to hear parents. It's okay to listen to them. It's okay to bring them in, to have certain platforms and forums where you have reading clubs, where you have triangulation of student, parent, and teachers' performances. We do a lot of that at Shivnada, and we have noticed that has built such steadfast and robust partnerships with our parents. But you know what you're doing. Education is serious business. We know what you're doing. So there is a more embracing of what the school's philosophy is. Secondly, the parents must see if the vision statement is ornamentation or actually the vision is articulated every single day in the classroom. It's really important. Third, that the parents must see, whether it's through word of mouth or through the alumni or through the ambassadorship of existing students, neighborhoods, societies, communities, but they must see quality assurance of teaching and learning. Who are the teachers? It's very important to see qualitative understanding, to have a qualitative understanding of teachers. And naturally, the bedrock is attention to well-being. No troubled minds can learn nothing. Joy of learning only comes when there is a balance and an equilibrium in a school. So, well being, physical, emotional, spiritual, cognitive well being, equally, all of these are very important. So, I would say these are my
One
three.
point.
Great. Yeah, sorry, Avinashji, go ahead.
I'll just like to give a passing this thing advice that sometimes parents get very impressed by the new buildings and infrastructure and all those things. These are very, very attractive things. It's like a good showroom selling something, some product. But I'll request them to go deeper and, like the other speakers said, alumni, uh, uh, word of mouth reputation, accessibility to the school, transparency that the school offers, the past track record. That those are very important aspects instead of only the infrastructure part. Though infrastructure is very important, but it should not become the sole criteria for a person choosing the school.
Yeah, yeah. No, in fact, just maybe from my side, though I have been largely moderating, just to add on this one in particular, as Avinashji said, one of the challenges we found schools facing some, and again, not talking about the very well-known schools, but the lesser-known schools also facing, is that while they are able to talk about their infrastructure or even their board exam results, etc., one of the things they don't easily manage to showcase is their teacher quality. And to Ms. Anju's point, I mean, that's something that we have been specifically focusing on, as you all as panelists know, but also for the parents in the audience, which is to rate schools on their teacher quality. And as a teacher certification body, one of the things we are trying to figure out is how to bring that connect where schools can say that, my teachers are really of good quality, and parents can give value to that beyond just the infrastructure and other visible aspects. So anyway, so with that, I know we've sort of run way over time. I also realized that there are a few audience questions that we could not take up, and apologies for that. There are also a couple of other questions addressed on some other CENTA tests. Request you to just write to team@centa.org. But hopefully we took up most of the questions related to this panel. And thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you, Ms. Anju, Dr. Shivani, Lieutenant Colonel Avinash, and Ms. Anupama. Lovely to have all of you with us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.